Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Shootaround. I am the only host on this podcast, and joining me, as is tradition, the one and only Rusty Buckets, as well as the legendary Alex Hoops. Fellas, how are we doing today?
Doing good.
It's good.
Living the dream.
A little bit better than me. I've been fighting my computer all day, so
I've been living the nightmare. You know how it is.
just there's two wolves inside of you. One is Rusty Buckets, and the other is Alex Hoops.
Look at this fucking mess behind me. Living the nightmare. There's a rat in my garage.
Oh,
not kidding.
Today, if you can't tell from the graphic on screen, today we are going to be putting a bunch of small forwards in a tier list, as we have the past couple of weeks with the guard positions. We have now entered the forward spots, and we're using Tier Maker instead of Photoshop, so we'll see how that goes. You know, if you prefer this over Photoshop, please let me know in a comment down below or in the live chat right now. Do we want to start with
I just realized
on the top, or
LeBron's not a small forward?
No, LeBron played the majority of his minutes at power forward. I knew people were going to ask about that, and I was like, I mean, address it right at the start.
Right. Here's the thing. Something that has to be said at the start is that there is going to be people that, especially, this is always the case, but it's especially the case of forwards, that forwards just play both forward spots. That's generally how it goes. So there are going to be people here that are like, he's not here. LeBron was one that surprised me because I was pretty sure, but I guess AD played a lot more center this year, so that does track.
I'm gonna say what I said to you, Jacob, in different wording. If a player that you think is a small forward isn't here, go watch the shooting guard episode. If that player wasn't in the shooting guard episode and they weren't here, go watch the point guard episode. If they weren't in either of those episodes and they're not in this episode, wait for the power forward episode. If they're not in any of those and they're not in the center episode, then we will happily apologize for not including them.
I won't.
But I guarantee you they're probably in one of those episodes, and there's a good reason why they were in that episode. And again, it comes down to how many minutes did they play at what position.
Yeah, the problem is there's like the legacy thing, right? Like Klay Thompson on this list, for example. Klay Thompson's a shooting guard historically. Was he a shooting guard last season? No. Right. DeMar DeRozan is a shooting guard historically. He was a small forward last season. So it's all arbitrary and positions are dumb. But it means we get 5 podcasts that do well. So I'm not going to complain about it right now. Let's go ahead.
And if you're upset about what position we're classifying a player, touch grass.
You should be upset with the coach that played him at a different position more, because we didn't do that. That wasn't in our control.
Right. Yeah. Or the website that classifies these arbitrary labels one way or another. You know, it's not our fault.
Where's Keith Bogans? That's funny.
I could totally see a world where someone cites one of these tier lists we make and go, wow, they didn't even have Kevin Durant on the small forward. They didn't even have LeBron on the small forward tier list or whatever, you know. And it's like,
I think Kevin Durant's played power forward for like the last 4 years, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think people would be too concerned with that. But yeah,
his name with this fella.
His name's escaping me right now. I'm sure Alex knows it. It's bothering me. AJ Griffin. Thank you. Yes. I don't know a ton about him. I'm pretty sure he's pretty damn solid.
He's going to be one of the best shooters in the NBA. Also, I thought he was a shooting guard.
No, here we go.
I got him playing 70% of his minutes at small forward, and if he was a shooting guard, we didn't have him on the list. So you know,
right? That's another thing.
Yeah, you're right. We didn't have him there.
Paul George was listed as shooting guard, and he's here because we didn't include him at the time. So I'm going to leave this to Alex because I don't know enough about him to like really solidly say.
I mean, I'm really high on AJ Griffin, so my ranking is probably going to be higher than what most people think. Also, a lot of people don't watch the Hawks, and when they're watching the Hawks, they're not watching AJ Griffin.
Right.
And he also like got kind of limited minutes. I'd say I think he has like A tier upside. But right now, like just based on right now, I would say B tier, maybe C tier, just because like he didn't play a ton of minutes.
Yeah, I think I would give it C with like probably would be B next year, just looking at his stats and judging him on that alone. Shot exceptionally well from three, which always gets you
Here's the case for him
with
being
me. Mm-hmm.
Here's the case for him being B tier is like he shot good from the field. He shot really good from three on 3.6 attempts per game in the 19 and a half minutes he was playing. He shot 39% from three. And like he's just a solid overall player. But I think C is fine for now. I still think that's a little bit low.
I feel like he probably would have gotten minutes in the playoffs if he was a B tier player.
Hear me out.
Obviously, part of that is the coaching, maybe making the wrong decision. But
what if we did this? We could
I totally agree with that.
We could add a C+ tier and an F tier to give this tier list a little bit more range, and then we can kind of establish what each tier means a little bit before, so we have some criteria to go off of rather than being relevant to or relative to whoever we started with, So would you be
I think
okay
just
with
an
doing
F
that?
tier. I don't know about a C+ as well.
Gotcha. Well, we can start with an F then.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that should be established is that S tier is superstar, and then A tier is
all-star.
like all-star.
B, I think then you're getting into like really good role player territory. C is like solid role player. D is like you're not going to lose your shit if they're in your rotation, but you're not happy about it. And F is just your ass. Just bad. So with that said, I think Griffin probably goes into like solid role player, but maybe not like excellent. And if C is that, then he would be C.
Now C feels
Wiggins is probably like a definitive B, right?
Yeah, that's also. Do you guys want to hear a wild stat that I found earlier? And this is just like good content. So the most efficient lineup in the entire NBA of any lineup that played at least 300 possessions last year was Steph, Klay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney. They played 705 possessions together. In those 705 possessions, they shot 80.3% at the rim, 49.1% from the mid-range, and 47.2% from three. That's like ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
No other team was even close.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So with that being said,
we also just established that A tier was all-star.
But Andrew
someone just said Wiggins is A tier.
But Andrew was an all-star, but I don't think he was a great one.
He was voted in as an all-star because the Warriors appealed to K-pop fans.
Right.
Let's be very clear here.
Not to mention
a very respectable strategy.
To mention an insane amount of weakness at his position specifically. So yeah, I think in general he's just like a holy shit, really good like role player, and like he was a holy shit, really good role player that ascended higher than he really was that year. So yeah,
probably putting Benedict Mathurin on the same tier as Wiggins right now, right?
I think
Benedict Mathurin's efficiency.
I think he's a little overrated.
He started off really good, and then throughout the season, his efficiency tapered off hard.
Yeah, I think he's a little overrated personally.
I think C tier is fine for him for now. He has better upside, but like C tier right now is definitely fair. That dude does not pass the ball.
No.
Are we doing
about league average efficiency for the whole season?
Yeah. Are we gonna try to do the whole like player on the left?
He also gets the line
better
really good.
Player on the right thing built into this tier list.
Sure.
Or are we just...
we're gonna pull our hair out if we do that. Yeah.
All right. Bojan Bogdanovic or something like that. No, that's Bogdanovic. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. No, that's Bojan, right? Yeah, that's Bojan.
Okay. All right. It's hard for me to tell the difference between him, and Joe Ingles.
I think he might be a sneaky.
I think he's a quiet B tier. Yeah.
He's
really good.
He averaged 21 last year. 21.
He had a game where
his last 4 seasons he has shot 6.5 threes a game at 40%. And he is
if I can find this game.
He is 1.2% from the field and 1.6% from the free throw line away from having a 50-40-90 season, averaging 20 points per game. I think that's a B tier player.
Yeah, for sure. There's a game that I want to find because he had a crazy game. It was years ago.
Oh, Alex, your mic cut out, I think. I see you talking. I just don't hear you talking.
Oh, shit.
Not this again.
Oh, boy. Not ideal.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Now I hear you. Yeah.
Okay. He had 48 points for Utah back in 2021. But there's a game. Here it is. He had like 32 points. No, this isn't it. He had like a 33-point, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers. It was just like the dude just scored, and that's it.
Is Alex a little bit delayed for you? Yeah, he said bro's lagging.
Yeah. Thank you, chat, for keeping us posted on Alex's lag status. In the meantime, I guess we could discuss the next guy on the docket, or you could just show a little bit more love for Bojan Bogdanovic. Up to you.
Did he leave or did you kick him?
He left, so he can come back and be right back in sync.
All right, there we go.
Okay. Anyway,
AlexHoops, someone said in the chat.
That's not bad.
That's a stretch. All right, what were you saying, Alex?
I was just saying he had a game. It was back in 2020, I think, but he had like 33 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turns. He also like balled out for what is he? Serbian. He like had a really big game for.
Imagine if he was. Imagine if he did have an all-around game. He might be like really fucking good.
Croatia, excuse me. Sorry, he's Croatian, but he had a really good game recently.
Brandon Ingram. I got to imagine that's just an A tier. I don't think we think he's a superstar.
Should we do?
Go ahead.
Upper tier all-stars and lower tier all-stars? Because I think there is a bit of a
like perennial all-star versus fringe all-star type thing.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Because like Brandon Ingram has been an all-star, but last year I wouldn't say he had an all-star season last year.
Did he not? I think he did. I mean, he didn't play enough games.
He played really, really good, but it wasn't his best season. And I wouldn't say he's there are guys who are perennial all-stars, but they're not superstars. Damn, and then there's guys who are occasionally all-stars that aren't perennial all-stars.
But like,
you know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't necessarily mean all-star in the sense that you have to have that badge. You know, it's more like all-star caliber. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's what I'm saying. Is like I think there's a difference between all-star caliber and like perennial all-star is what I'm saying. Like there are guys who are making it every single year, but then there are guys who are all-star caliber who aren't making it simply because there's only so many spots on an all-star team.
I would argue that he hasn't made all-star teams not because he's not a perennial all-star talent, but because of the team circumstance, the lack of winning. And I think he's been kind of unhealthy as well the past couple of years. 45 games, 55 games, 61 games, though he did make it playing 62. And also being unhealthy is not necessarily a new thing for Brandon. But I think when he's actually playing, he's playing at an all-star level. Like he just is.
I'm not disagreeing. We're saying the same thing. We're saying We're just
but I don't know that there should be a different tier for that. I'm just trying to rank quality of player here.
I think this is a deeper discussion beyond
What the?
Just like the position and the play. But I think, yes, he's A tier. He's A tier. I agree with A tier. I'm just saying there's a difference between there are different levels of all-stars is the point I was trying to make.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Do I sound much better now?
Yes, significantly.
It should have been pointed out because we just ruined the first 15 minutes of the pod because I know that shit sounds horrible.
No, it was passably good. Yeah, it was good enough. It just wasn't supreme podcast quality.
Maybe that's what a 2022 MacBook brings you is it's not complete ass quality mic. I don't know. Cody Martin.
Well, that's not Cody Martin.
Caleb Martin.
I think this is Caleb.
To be fair, I imagine they get mixed up quite a bit. Do we rank him based on his regular season performance or his Eastern Conference Finals MVP almost performance? Because I feel like if that was the case, he would be too good for C and maybe not quite enough good for B. You know what I mean?
Sounds like we need a new tier.
Dare I say C+?
So fucking tired of not having it set from the beginning. Why do we have to make?
Wait, this is why we were doing it in tier makers, so we could add add tiers very easily. But I think C is fine for. I don't think Caleb Martin is the decider of like we need to add a new tier.
Right, but he was a B in the playoffs for most of it, so that makes it.
And he was bad in the finals.
You win some, you lose some. Cam Johnson, probably C again.
Oh, no? I think he's comfortably B tier.
Really?
Yeah.
See more of a Benedict Mathurin.
You are not getting. There are very few starting small forwards on the planet that are better than.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair enough, especially because he's such a fucking sniper from outside. He's a pretty good defender. He's tall and versatile and all that. That's fair enough.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Daniel House.
I didn't even include him originally.
I would put Daniel House in D. Guy you don't hate being in your rotation, but you're not happy about it for sure.
Somebody's got to play the minutes.
Right. DeAndre Hunter's probably C. I feel like he can be B, but
I'd say like B- or a C+, but like
right.
Definitely not on the level of the Bs, but better than the Cs.
He honestly doesn't play. This is his most complete season, so that's worth mentioning. The most games he's ever played. 15 points, 4 rebounds. From what I recall, a pretty positive defender. Shot okay from 3. About league average true shooting. I don't know. I think C is probably fair. His stats are very similar to Benedict Mathurin's.
Well,
he's a handedly better defender than Benedict Mathurin.
Right. But is being a better defender quite enough to move him up to B? I don't know.
I'm not saying he should be in B. I'm just saying he's definitely better than the guys in C. But we can come back to it later.
Right.
DeMar DeRozan.
DeRozan is probably A tier. I mean, he still is good. And did he make an all-star team last year? Yes, he did. 24, 5, and 5, good efficiency, even though he can't shoot a fucking 3. And don't make this guy the foundation of your offense. Let me tell you that, because you're not going to win off of a mid-range shot creator and basically that in 2024 or 3 or 2 or 2021. But, that didn't stop the Bulls from trying it. But he's very good. Can't deny that.
I think
much better than Zach LaVine.
I think DeMar DeRozan is a good example of what a lower tier all-star would be for.
I mean, he took a break being an all-star on the Spurs, but he averaged 25.
I mean, yeah, but the Bulls were booty hole.
Definitely. Booty hole? Is that what you just said? I've never anyone specifically mentioned the hole before. I wasn't ready for that.
So we're comfortable saying that DeMar DeRozan is better than Andrew Wiggins? I'm seeing people saying that in the chat.
Yes.
Okay. He's a much better playmaker than Andrew Wiggins.
Yes, DeMar DeRozan's better than Andrew Wiggins. Come on. He's less portable than Andrew Wiggins, but this is the whole conversation we had before. The actual being better at basketball thing, that he wins that conversation. Like that's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Denny, Avdija, where are we going?
He's a really good defender, but he's not doing much else for you at this point.
Right. Less than 30% from threes. Ugh.
I've kind of like
D for Denny defense.
Thinking he was going to really develop. I think D's good.
I thought he like showcased some point forward ability, but his playmaking hasn't really translated a ton. Oh, brother.
And some of it could be like.
Don't ask me this question.
I don't even want to rank a Grizzlies player.
It's not a Grizzlies player.
To the people watching, well, a former Grizzlies player. To the chat, I want you all to know that after every single episode that we do,
oh my fucking god, this guy!
Doesn't matter where we rank a Grizzlies player. The episode will end. We'll all go to bed. We'll have a good night's sleep, and then wake up early the next morning. We'll get a text. We'll get a text from Rudy saying that his blood is boiling because of where we ranked Grizzlies players.
Where we ranked Luke Kennard.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where they are. They will always be too low. So Rudy,
weren't you trying to convince us that
I'm a real fan?
Weren't you trying to convince us that Desmond Bane was S tier when we established that was for superstars?
No, I think I said that Desmond Bane was A tier with Jaylen Brown when he was in B tier the whole pod. And then that's what happened. So I won that one. But Luke Kennard, I'm still taking him over Terry Rozier. But that's not what this podcast is for. That being said, Dillon Brooks, I think comfortably D tier, Lots of big pros, lots of big cons, too. And
he just got paid $20 million to be a D tier player. And I do think he is a D tier player.
Ooh. I mean, Brooks is a C tier for sure.
I'm comfortably taking Benedict Mathurin over Dillon Brooks personally.
Yeah.
You guys can hate Dillon Brooks as much as you want. I don't like Dillon Brooks at all. And I think his offense, we were talking about guys who can torpedo your offense. Dillon Brooks is a guy who can torpedo your offense, but his defense is really good. He is a really good defender.
I just don't.
And I think that puts him in C. D to me is like you don't really do anything. Like you're just running. You're out there running.
I mean, Denny is a really good defender. We just not as good as Dillon.
But he's not as good as Dillon.
No, not all NBA good, just positive. So, or not all NBA, all defense. So, if he wasn't for the all defensive second team selection this year, I'd be advocating for putting him in D for sure.
I think,
because he got that nod, he seems most fair.
I think Dillon Brooks is a terrible basketball player. This contract he just got with the Houston Rockets, if it won't be his last, it will be his second to last. And I think by the time that contract, by the time we're halfway through the year, everyone's going to realize how shit of a contract that is, and he'll be out of the league in a couple of years. That's my opinion, but you guys can rank him where you want.
A lot of people in the chat are asking for Dort versus Dillon Brooks. Who do we prefer? I don't know. Kind of the same model of player.
I'd pick Dort.
Lou Dort has like 15% better shot selection and 10% better competence at making those shots. Still not good. He's still doing way too much.
Yeah. Duncan Robinson, probably C tier.
He's definitely not just out there running. He can shoot
D for Duncan.
Out of the ball.
And honestly, he can kind of do a little bit of off the dribble stuff and a little bit of playmaking now.
He also
B tier for
no. Definitely, I think C tier. Especially, he was really good in the playoffs and
44% in the playoffs.
Yeah, from 3, I presume. On 5 attempts a game, 9 points. He had some moments. I made a video at the time titled "Duncan Robinson is the main character." I remember him having a performance. I think he went 4 for 4 in the fourth quarter. hit a bunch of really crazy shots. Maybe that was Heat Nuggets game 2, the only one the Heat won, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be wrong. But he's such a good plug and play guy on offense. Obviously not a good defender. I think a little bit overblown as a negative one, though. Like, I feel like people treat him like he is just the worst defender on the planet, and you can survive Duncan Robinson being on the floor.
Yeah. A lag is back in the building.
I think he earned C from the playoffs. If we're going off the regular season,
right? And
the regular season, was
and
bad,
people cite the fact that he got caught out of the rotation in the regular season. I love Eric Spoelstra. I think he's the best coach in the entire league. I also think he was a little unfair to Duncan and was very quick to pull him out of the rotation after he just shot poorly for like 15 games. And it was like, well, you got to give the guy a chance to get his shot back, because obviously when Duncan's missing, he's not good. But when you see in the playoffs, when he's hitting those shots again, he's a damn good weapon offensively, which especially Miami fucking needs, because there were not a lot of guys that could score.
Yeah. Him and Bam have a really good two-man game as well.
You're out of sync again, man.
Hate that for you, but, I can add him right back as soon as he leaves. Up next, I suppose we go for Evan Fournier. Don't Google Evan Fournier.
Yeah, do not. Literally, I just looked him up on Basketball Reference, and his only nickname is Don't Google.
It's one of the hardest nicknames in all of sports right now.
I think this might be the first F-tier player.
Wow, that's really how you feel,
especially off of last year. And to give him some benefit of the doubt, he averaged
for Fournier.
He averaged 14, shot 8 threes on 39% from 3 last year. However, this season, 6 points per game, 34% from the field, 31% from 3, and he had a true shooting percentage of 47, which is 10% below league average, around there anyways. Not good. I would put him in F. He's even more
I have a
like
question.
Why
is he even on here? Because he played 27 games last year.
Oh, there it is. Eliminated. Just like that. I'll put him at the back.
And he's also not a small forward.
Yeah, he is a shooting guard to me, and it's what he's listed on a Basketball Reference anyways.
Gotcha. Whoopsie daisies.
But if he was, he'd be an F tier.
Yeah, I agree. He is terrible.
Franz Wagner, A tier, pretty comfortably, I think.
Oh, he will be A tier.
I think he has to be B, but he's much closer to A than he is C for sure.
Yeah,
no question. But I definitely feel like Wiggins, for example, he's not way better than Wiggins, or anything like that. Furkan,
he does a lot more than Wiggins, but he's
F is for Furkan. Or are we putting him in D?
Well, he barely meets our threshold of games played to begin with. Didn't he request a trade? And everyone was like, bro, you're Furkan Korkmaz. You don't get to request a trade. You're barely in the league as it is. He shot well from 3. He shot terribly from 3 last year, below 30%. And that's all that he does.
D tier is just going to end up being like the entire Sixers bench. If we had every player, every small forward, but alas, we don't.
I think I would put him in D personally.
I would say D as well.
A little less than useless. Congrats.
A little bit more than useless.
Congrats for
Gordon Hayward. B.
Gordon might be B.
He's a little better than C, but he's B tier guys.
Oh, he only averaged 15. I thought he was still
good.
putting up 20 a night. Nope.
So we bump him down to the Benedict Mathurin tier because of the statistical
He's probably better. He's definitely not as good as the guys on B tier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but is he as good as Harrison Barnes is the real question at hand.
Harrison Barnes is probably another C player.
I think we're going to have to break up C.
Wasn't he fucking awful in the playoffs? If I'm remembering correctly. Barnes? Yeah, he shot 24.
Most of the Kings players were.
Right, but he shot 24% from three. Heesh.
Yeah, I mean, he's like...
Regular season, he was pretty damn good, though. I don't know if I'm going to let that, knock him out of...
Right.
So I would put Gordon Hayward in there. I would put DeAndre Hunter in there, and probably Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah.
And I think that's good as it is.
So Harrison Barnes stays in C. Those three go into C+.
Yeah.
I think Barnes should probably be in C+.
That's fair enough. I can live with that. Because he
right.
did have a very good regular season, and he's very consistent in the regular season.
Isaac Okoro. Where's he going to Isaac Okoro go?
It's actually kind of insane how consistent his numbers are with the Sacramento Kings. He's like averages the same shit almost basically every year.
Oh, Barnes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the difference of like 2 points per game max each year.
I think Okoro is probably C tier.
Yeah, he's a very, very good defender.
And he's a starter, so it's like
he's one of those guys who's just like, man, if you could just hit your threes like on a higher volume, his percentage is fine. But he's not a reliable outside threat.
Jaden McDaniels.
That's got to be B.
Yeah, comfortably.
Comfortably B.
Like he was an all. Did he make all defense this year? I don't think so.
I think he was.
He should have been, but I think he was.
Yeah, he was like the best player that didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're all defense category, unless you're Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, unless you're just putting up 3 horrible jumpers a night.
3,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, guaranteed 3. One every time he's checked in at least. Jay Crowder got to be D tier, right? Maybe even F.
Not F. I don't know. I kind of feel like Jay got screwed a little bit. He was a little too upset about not starting anymore because Cam earned that spot and he should have recognized that. And then as a result, he got canned and went to Milwaukee. And I felt like the Milwaukee Bucks should have played him, but they didn't. He played very bad in the minutes he did get in the playoffs, to be fair. So, maybe that's enough of justified reason. So I feel like I would put him at D. I don't think he's useless.
He also played 18 games last year, so he doesn't even meet our threshold.
All right.
I mean, I'd rather have him there than not, but okay. Whatever.
Well, we can put him. I mean, we can. I'm just saying, like, if we're ranking current small forwards, it's like,
pretty sure Joe Ingles is better than you might guess this previous year.
He does some decent stuff.
Yeah, he's a solid rotation guy. I would probably put him in. C is probably fine.
I'm gonna be real.
John Konchar,
low key a C tier player. He's doesn't play a lot, but when he does, it's real good. Gets a lot of stocks, makes a lot of shots, a lot of rebounds, good handle. I think he's on the same tier as Dylan Brooks personally, but I could see why everyone else would disagree with me because he's John Konchar.
I think he's shown enough that I'm interested to see what he could do with more, but that hasn't happened yet. So I would put him in C.
Yeah.
Maybe
C?
D. Probably D. Probably D. D seems right now. I'm looking at everybody else. How do you feel, Alex?
It's John Konchar.
John Konchar does not inspire.
It's a low stakes pick.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Josh Giddey. B tier, C plus tier.
I think he eventually will be. Man, this is gonna probably ruffle feathers, and
there are a lot of people who think he's really good, like really, really good.
Yeah, I think he is. He's people got to realize with him, he will be very good. Like, I do think Josh Giddey has all-star potential. It's just he's so young, and there are still a lot of things that he's got to get better at. So, like, I look at the guys in B, and I'm like, he's not quite as good as the guys in B.
Mm-hmm.
I think he will be comfortably eventually, but it's just, well, not better than all of those guys. But, you know, point being, I think right now he's C+, but he can very easily end up A tier.
Yeah, C+ seems right to me, personally.
Is Josh Hart better, though?
Youngest player ever with a triple-double. What are we doing? Yes, that one game defines how good he is. Good.
I'm literally a Thunder fan. Like,
yes.
It's like, you know,
I'm literally a closet Thunder fan. So,
DeLon Wright had 2 triple-doubles in a month, and, you know, I don't mean shit. Josh Hart. C+ probably.
If we're just going off his Knicks stint, I would think
I'm putting him
in
B. I think I'm putting him in B.
He's one of the best role players in the league.
Josh Hart's so fucking good, man.
I wish the Grizzlies had Josh Hart.
He's such an unbelievable rebounder, especially as a wing. Like fucking 8 rebounds a game at 6'5". Okay, Dennis Rodman, but small forward. He also shot 52% from it's 25 games. All right, fair enough. But he shot 52% from 3 with the Knicks. And not only do I give Josh Hart credit for being good, I give him credit for making me kind of like the Knicks sometimes. And God knows that is a difficult achievement. Even though the Knicks are good, I find them to be, other than him and Jalen Brunson, the most painful basketball team to watch that's still good. But Josh Hart brings the energy and the impact, and he's very interesting and entertaining. He's about as entertaining as a role player can be. I really fuck with Josh Hart.
But what about Josh Okogie? Do you fuck with Josh Okogie?
He had that stretch where everyone was like, oh, and then it was right back to
he's one of those guys. I remember with Minnesota, people were like, oh, this guy is going to be really good. And I was like, I don't know about that. I didn't really see it. 14% from 3 in the playoffs. That's not a good percentage in case those at home aren't aware. Positive defender, but he's also short. So it's is he going to make a crazy impact defensively? Not really. I'd put him in D.
Yeah, I can see C, but I'm not gonna. It's Josh Okogie.
Yeah, we don't need
easy
to
A.
discuss that. We don't need to
or easy
that.
S rather.
Yeah, when he's healthy, he's S tier for sure.
Keldon Johnson. I have a lot of mixed feelings on Keldon as a player. Personally,
he's easily C+ with the potential to be B or A.
I mean, he averaged 22 last year. But it was also the Spurs.
Empty calories. Yeah.
It was also the Spurs. And his efficiency fell off with that, which I don't think is his fault. That's due to the circumstance that he had to shoot the ball more. But I'm conflicted between B and C+, because I do think he plays at a B level regularly, and I would say he probably did last year. Granted, I will say this as well. Disappointing defender. When you see that guy's body and that guy's energy and his motor, you think that's an all defense guy, and then he's passable to bad on average. And he's not a playmaker at all. He's kind of in that what's his freaking name?
Benedict Mathurin.
Benedict Mathurin. Not as bad, but it can be a problem. So I think C+ is fair. What do you think, Alex?
Real quick before I answer that. So, people are asking about Jason Tatum. He should be on here. That was just an oversight. So we will add Jason Tatum, so don't ask about it anymore. Jimmy Butler, though, people have been asking about Jimmy Butler and LeBron. Jimmy Butler played more than 50% of his minutes at power forward this year. LeBron played Over 50% of his minutes at power forward this year. If you go to LeBron James basketball reference right now, it says his position for the 2022-23 season is power forward. So before
does for
asking
Jimmy as
us,
well.
you can do some research and find out what position they played last year. Takes like 2 seconds.
Yeah, Jimmy.
And then we don't have to stop the pod and explain it. So.
Imagine showing like a 90s basketball fan or like a 90s basketball player at that time, just showing them like footage of the future of Jimmy Butler and be like, yeah, that guy's a starting power forward. Like he's a shooting guard that can play small forward and apparently can play power forward. But yeah, fair enough. Kelly Oubre, I think, is overrated.
Easily.
Not a Kelly guy. And I
thought people were kind of like in agreement that Kelly Oubre was kind of bad now.
I thought that, and then I said that, and I got a bunch of shit for it. Like, yeah, he put up 20 points per game last year, but on garbage efficiency, on a garbage team with, terrible. Talk about a guy who can't fucking pass worth shit. Okay. Oh my God, is Kelly Oubre just a non-factor as a playmaker? Last year, 17 field goal attempts per game. So that's how much the ball is in this guy's hand. Enough for him to take 17 shots. He averaged 1.1 assists. How? How does that even happen?
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if you looked at the list, every other player in the league who took 17 or more shots, he is at the bottom of the list in assists per game. He's got to be.
We got a good question in the chat that I want to address. 21-22 Braun is a center on Basketball Reference. Are y'all going to have him as a center if y'all did this in the 21-22 season? If we were ranking the best centers from the 2021-22 season and LeBron played over 50% of his minutes at center, then yes, we would have him on the tier list for best centers of 2021 through 2022.
Also, I know
because that would make sense.
I know he had that stint playing center, but there's just no fucking way he played most of his minutes at center that season. And Basketball
I remember
Reference,
that was like a big story. Like everyone was like, LeBron is playing center now?
Right. But like that was like a 15-game stretch, if I recall. Like it wasn't the whole season. And Basketball Reference gets the positions wrong all the time. They're going on vibes, not minutes allocated at each position.
Right. I mean, LeBron played 49, according to Cleaning the Glass. I'm not also, I said Basketball Reference. I'm not going off Basketball Reference.
Right.
I'm going off of cleaningtheglass.com, which does a pretty decent job with position stuff. And they have LeBron at 49% of his minutes at center in the 21-22 season, only 44% of his minutes at power forward, and only 6% at small forward. This past season, LeBron played 85% of his minutes at power forward.
That's crazy because if you look at his Basketball Reference, and I guess just in general, he literally has played a majority of his minutes at every position in one season or another. His first year, he was a shooting guard, bunch of years of small forward, couple of years of power forward, 2 years of point guard with the Lakers, and a year of center with the Lakers. I also find it fucking crazy that LeBron averaged the second most points per game of his entire career 2 seasons ago. That's wild. I know inflated numbers and all that, but sheesh.
Okay, anyways, Kelly Oubre.
Yeah. F tier?
Nah. Honestly,
pretty bad.
God, it feels wrong to put a guy averaging 20 in F tier, but genuinely, I would want that guy nowhere near my team. And ask a Warriors fan what they think of Kelly Oubre, and they're gonna be like, F tier? Can it go lower than that?
I think D tier is probably fair.
I think it's I think we're probably gonna have to move some guys down to D because we're not like willing to give them just useless allegations.
What about
I think Kenyon Martin is incredibly underrated.
I don't know shit about him, so there you go.
So it's really interesting. If you look at Kenyon Martin's, or if you look at the Rockets lineups last year, there were only a handful of lineups that were actually like positives when they were being used. And every single one of them, there is one constant, and it's Kenyon Martin Jr. He's like, when the Rockets do well on the court, it is due in large part because they have Kenyon Martin. He's like, in my opinion, a lot of teams would benefit from having him.
I'm going to let you take the baton and put him where you need to put him, because I watched maybe 2 Rockets games last year.
I mean, I'm almost inclined to put him, if he shot better from 3, I could see a world where he was C+. But I
thought you were going to make a case for B.
No. I think C's fine for now. We can see how the rest of C+ plays out, but there's a case he could potentially be in
Alex,
C+.
do you have feelings on this next coming guy? Do you have any opinions on him?
I think we're all in agreement, though. Yeah. I didn't even need the, what's there to talk about? He's S tier.
What's there?
Middleton S tier. Moving on.
For one thing. He also, if we want to just dodge this bullet, he played 33 games last year.
Right.
But it's Chris Middleton.
Yeah, I would like to rank him personally. Although
I think he's B tier. Yeah, he was B tier last year.
Yeah.
All right. Klay Thompson, also B tier probably.
I'm not touching this one with a 10-foot pole.
Klay Thompson? That's interesting.
B tier, A tier, right? He can't be in the Gordon Hayward, Josh Giddey tier.
He technically had like the best shooting season of his career.
Ooh,
which is saying a lot.
Yeah. So do we
Klay fucking Thompson?
Do we dare put him in A tier?
He was terrible in the playoffs. He's terrible in the playoffs, and he can shoot his team out of the games. He's obviously also not the defender that he used to be. I would put him in C+, honestly. I don't know if that's crazy.
That's crazy.
He's definitely not in fucking A. He's definitely not in fucking A.
I'm sorry. If you're shooting 41% from 3 on 10.6 attempts per game, that's ridiculous.
Fine. You're right. There's just so many
And I agree.
times.
He was terrible in the playoffs.
There's so many times. And I really care about how you perform in the playoffs. That really makes a difference for me. There's the amount of times where he fucking just sucks. It happens so often. He used to be like pretty fucking consistent ever since his injuries, and especially being that he's not the defender he used to be. He's sure as shit not A anymore. He's not an all-star anymore.
Right, I agree. Yeah.
I think Lauri Markkanen is A. And obviously he was an all-star, but he was like crazy good last year. As much praise as Lauri got for being as good as he was last year, I still don't think it was enough. Because he had he is 0.1% from the field, 0.9% from 3, and then where is it? 2.5% from the free throw line, away from a 50-40-90 25 point per game season. And he had a 64% true shooting percentage. He's just so good offensively. I think he's definitely A. I don't know if you're ever going to argue about that, but
no, I would have him A, but I do think this is where 2 tiers of all-star type players would come in handy, because it's his first year doing this, where we're like, whoa, he's a very, very, very good all-star caliber player, but the sample size, we haven't seen. I mean,
we're mostly
seasons of it,
right? But we're mostly going on last year,
right? I don't know. I would probably, I would have him A. I'm fine with us putting him in A. I'm just saying, when we were talking about 2 tiers of all-star, this is kind of where that would come into play.
If we did that, though, honestly, if we're just looking at the field, the guys that are left, the top tier all-star would be Paul George, and then everybody else would be the second tier. So it'd be one tier just for Paul George. So I don't think it's that necessary. And I think Lauri is better than DeRozan and comfortably at least close to as good as Ingram, if not better. So, it's not like he's standing out from the field here.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm fine with that. So.
All right. Lonnie Walker. He is a tough player to evaluate because he had a lot of moments.
I still don't think those moments put him in the Harrison Barnes, Gordon Hayward range. I think he's more of a AJ Griffin, Caleb Martin.
Yeah, I can agree to that. So
C for Lonnie Walker. I mean, unless he just had some crazy shooting season that no one noticed last year. You got some numbers on him.
Pretty unremarkable season. It was just fine. He was just fine.
I just remember there was a week where everyone was like, "Whoa, Lonnie Walker!"
I think he broke some record or something like that, and it was the only NBA news for a few days. Some really fringe.
You can't say Lauri is better than DeRozan yet. Yes, I can. And I just did, and I've watched a shitload of both of them, more so than you probably have. So, more so than I would like to.
Michael Porter Jr. Is he a C+, a B, or an A? No way he's C.
I think he's B.
I think he's B.
Comfortably B.
Especially given how good defensively he ended up being. Because a lot of people were concerned about that with him coming into the league, and he had some real lapses earlier on in his career. But this season, he became a positive defender, and in the finals, he sucked on offense, and yet he still was a positive and impactful rotation player because he was as good as he was defensively.
Now, Michael Porter Jr., pretty good.
Oh yeah,
I know you don't normally say. Excuse me. You said in a recent video that people normally say he's their third best player when he's really
that's why I said he can be a little bit overrated, because so often I look at. Okay, I'm sorry. I just got distracted by a comment. What has Lauri done in the playoffs, Rusty? Brother, you want to bring up the playoffs in a DeMar DeRozan conversation? Is that what we're doing? Because that's fucking funny. Anyways, what were we talking about?
Michael Porter Jr.
Yes, right. Very often I see people say, Michael Porter Jr., what a great, third best player for the Nuggets. He's not their third best player. He's their fourth best player. Aaron Gordon is decidedly and easily better. And obviously, we know who the two players also are better than Michael. But that said, Michael is an exceptional role player.
What about
I was sitting here. I had some takes stewing in the noggin, but I think I'm just gonna let those stew a little longer. I'm not gonna.
Why is that?
I'm not ready to.
Y'all don't want a pod, man.
Well, we got the chat on screen, and now I can see it, and they're so vicious sometimes.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I don't know. I think there's an argument that at times, specifically during the regular season, I think there's an argument that Aaron Gordon, you could argue he was their second best player during the regular season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that point of view, for sure. For the regular season.
Jamal Murray bounced back great. He was, and I'm super glad he did as well as he did in the playoffs. He's handedly their second best player now.
Right.
But during the regular season,
100%. I agree with that.
At times.
I agree with that. I was looking at this from a post-2023 playoffs point of view where, Jamal Murray averaged 26 for the entire playoffs. And I would say the gap between Aaron and Jamal, even with what Jamal did in the playoffs, isn't, gigantic. However, I do think Aaron's definitely third in the pecking order of best players after this run. He also was great in the playoffs. Everyone was pretty damn good for the Nuggets in the playoffs. So, they happened to win a championship. I don't know if you knew.
Right. Dude, it's really crazy, how many like impact players the Nuggets had, like obviously Jamal Murray, Jokic, MPJ, but like having Aaron Gordon, who is basically turned into like the personification of like an impact player, like KCP, who's like one of the most perfect impact players in the NBA. Christian Brown is another like really solid impact guy when you already have a very established pecking order on your team. It's like impressive to be able to assemble a roster like that with how much teams seem to fail at that these days.
Gordon would be mid if he didn't play with Jokic. Brother, we are primarily talking about defense to begin with. Yeah, obviously, Aaron benefits a shitload from Jokic's gravity. Who on that team doesn't? Like, what? Yeah, Aaron benefits from Jokic, but Jamal Murray doesn't. Michael Porter Jr. doesn't. All right. We've talked enough about fucking Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, all that being said, he's a B-tier player, right?
Yeah. Mikal.
I want to say something about Mikal. It was a topic on NBA Twitter.
Grudge?
No. There was a topic on NBA Twitter. I don't know how much y'all saw of it, where people were kind of arguing about whether or not Mikal Bridges was better than Brandon Ingram. And it seemed pretty 50-50 on my timeline. But personally, I would be willing to put Mikal Bridges in S tier right now and leave Brandon in an A.
He didn't play enough for me to do that. It's as simple as that. He didn't play enough. 20.
Hold on. Did you say put Mikal Bridges in S tier?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, might as well. Just get ahead of the game a little bit.
That's just insane. That's just insane.
Can I say something?
Yes.
If you're a 26 point per game scorer and all defense, superstar is a conversation I'll have. So that's fair enough. However, we are talking about a 27 game sample size. And I believe that Mikal is this guy. I've believed for a minute that Mikal is this guy and have been saying for years that the Phoenix Suns need to give him more opportunity. So in many ways, I felt vindicated seeing him immediately play at like an all-star level out of the gate. Really what is difficult for me for this ranking, what I think it should come between is A and B, because his total season, I mean, he still averaged 17 for the Suns, and is an excellent defender. But that's like Andrew Wiggins tier on the Suns. And then he played at like a Brandon Ingram, Lauri Markkanen, and DeMar DeRozan tier on the Nets. So I'm not entirely sure what to do with that because it's such a split between both versions of him. And I believe that Mikal Bridges is a 26 point per game guy, but actually to put him in A, I feel like you have to prove it over a larger sample.
That is reasonable. It's entirely reasonable. But I say all this, and I'm glad you framed it the precise way you did, because I'm interested to hear y'all's opinion on like which one of those two players is better, Brandon Ingram or Mikal Bridges, because like it seems incredibly neck and neck, and the sample size thing is a variable that throws a whole wrench in the equation. I think
as scorers and shot creators, what Mikal showed on the Nets, fairly similar. Playmaking, Brandon Ingram is leagues above Mikal Bridges. Defense, Mikal Bridges is leagues above Brandon Ingram. I would probably say Mikal, in the games that he played with the Nets, performed better than Brandon Ingram generally brings to the table. But that said, I understand why this is split. I'm going to pick Brandon Ingram between the two because Brandon Ingram has been doing this shit for years. A large sample size. Much more so than Mikal.
I think that Brandon Ingram's scoring is often a little overhyped, though, because even in this like really points per game inflated era that we live in, he's still like not putting up, crazy scoring output. And people talk about him like he's baby KD.
I don't really personally view like crazy high points per game as really that important to me to evaluate you as a scorer. It's just as simple as he doesn't really go for it, and he's not really utilized that way. When it comes to putting the ball in the basket out of an isolation, Mikal Bridges is up there with some of the best of them. He just is. And he fits in within the offense, the flow of the offense well. You're right. He's not like a super high volume scorer, like at the highest tier. But
you said Mikal right there. Did you mean Brandon?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
I see Alex sighing over here. I'm curious.
Yeah, I got some thoughts.
Mm.
One thing I want to say right off the bat, Brandon Ingram is a whole year younger than Mikal Bridges.
Oh, that's funny.
Mikal Bridges is not a young player. Mikal Bridges is 27 whole years old.
Did we
Brandon
describe
Ingram
him as a young player?
is 20. No, I'm saying like people when talking about like how much better he can get, like projecting forward, there's not much more time left before like Mikal Bridges is in his prime. Like he's in his prime right now. Brandon Ingram, you can also make the argument he's in his prime. He's 26 years old. But
I think they're both.
The point is, the point being, Brandon Ingram has been doing this for years and years and years now, whereas Mikal Bridges had a 27-game sample size where the coach was basically like, let's see how low in the standings we can get and see if we can make it into the lottery. Mm-hmm. So you're going to run point guard, even though you're definitely not a point guard. And all the metrics that we have access to from the public say that Mikal Bridges as your lead ball handler is a bad idea. His scoring numbers may have looked good, but he is not even close to the level of offensive facilitator that Brandon Ingram is.
Yeah.
Brandon Ingram is able to bring the ball up the floor and run your offense. And this is for a team, the Pelicans, that have a pretty dynamic offense from like an X's and O's perspective. Willie Green is definitely one of the more sophisticated coaches when it comes to the different looks that they're throwing at opposing defenses on any given night. Brandon Ingram is able to do that and excel at it. He's also been the lead guy in the playoffs, taking the Suns to 6 games that year where everyone was like, the Suns are going to steamroll through everybody. And they freaking didn't have Zion Williamson. Mm-hmm. And Brandon Ingram averaged 27 points on 47.5% shooting from the field and 40% from 3, while also getting 6 rebounds and 6 assists. This is not a debate to me. Mikal Bridges is good, but there are way more limitations to his game offensively than people realize.
I also want to put out there that someone in the comments pointed this out. Mikal also didn't play as good a defense in Brooklyn that he did in Phoenix. Like the more shot selection, very often if you get more shots, the trade-off often is you get a little bit worse defensively because you have to allocate your energy properly. And yeah, I think I kind of got that wrong in conflating like he's bringing that defense to the table while also scoring 26. You're absolutely right. Brandon Ingram is a way better playmaker than Mikal, and I value playmaking a ton. So in terms of who is the better offensive threat, I don't think it's close. And given that Mikal was not at his best defensively in Brooklyn, yeah, Brandon Ingram's better. That said, if next season we had this conversation and it was a really valid discussion and it really could have gone either way, I would personally be okay with that. Or not personally be okay with that. I think that would make sense. That's what I was trying to say. That said, I would probably put him in B. Just not quite enough for A. Not quite enough from him.
Yeah, I really like Mikal Bridges, and if we had like a lower A tier, I would put him in the lower A tier. But like, I don't know.
It could be time to break up B into B plus.
I can't get behind the 27-game sample size for him being an A tier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think B is fine.
All right. That's officially our stance on
Mikal is not on a Hart's level. That's fucking funny.
I think the primary reason this broke out into a point of discussion was because Brandon Ingram kind of flopped in FIBA, as far as I understand, and Mikal Bridges, in his reduced role, looked a little bit better. So people were saying, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but he's already better.
I don't know how much I'm going to let that define what I think about them in the NBA. You know what I mean?
FIBA is very entertaining, and it is enjoyable basketball to watch, but I've seen people putting way too much stuff. People have been saying that Dillon Brooks' contract is good because they watched the FIBA games, and it's like,
ugh. It's a wholly different
that's not
game.
the NBA. Like, it's so different. It's like insanely different.
Right. And as much as these overseas teams are getting much better in talent, and there's a lot more NBA players on these teams than there were 20 years ago, it's still not NBA level competition. It's still not an NBA team. You are playing guys who would have no shot in the NBA in the rotation all the time. Often you're looking at these lineups and you're like this isn't an example that I even know if he's playing, but it's like, is that fucking Pablo Prigioni? Like, that's the type of guys that I'm talking about. Like, it's overseas talent has gotten so much better. The globalization of the game is great, but NBA teams are the best teams at basketball in the world. They are. And that's what I care. I care about what you're doing against an NBA team. So the FIBA thing doesn't move me one way or the other.
So moving on to OG Anunoby, another former Grizzlies trade target.
I gotta say something about OG.
Mm.
Everyone's been in the comments this entire stream saying, "Where's Jimmy Butler? Where's LeBron James? Where's this player? Where's that player? Aren't they a small forward?" Guess what? OG Anunoby isn't even a small forward. And we have him here. And I haven't seen anybody say anything about it. OG played, actually, I'm going to double check this. I'm pretty sure he played more shooting guard than he did small forward this
I would have
year.
guessed he played more power forward because
I would have too.
Didn't Pascal play a ton of center this year? Like, primarily? No, I guess
OG played 53% of his minutes at shooting guard. Where were y'all during the shooting guard episode? Where's OG? Yeah.
Well,
so save it.
OG's not. No one cares about OG.
Unfortunately.
Now everyone's just spamming, "Where's Jimmy Butler?"
I did this to myself. I'm okay. I needed the soapbox there.
Honestly, I'm thinking we need a B+ looking at this, because I do think he's in the B, but like B is getting so crowded, and there is some clear difference in talent between a lot of the guys here.
I'm just messing around, chat. I love you guys.
I don't think there needs to be an A-. I said one thing, not the other.
Yeah, hold on. Give me a second. Let me do it, okay? I'm nervous.
Oh, my ears hurt.
B+ / A-.
Alex, the chat. You know what, man? The chat deserves it.
It's just the facts of life. All right, so we have now added a B+ / A- tier.
Who do we want to move from B into that?
Mikal Bridges, Franz Wagner, Chris Middleton, Klay Thompson? Andrew Wiggins?
I think Chris probably still belongs in B, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think Klay moving up is fine. I think when I said C+, I think my memory was just too much in the games where he sucked. It also feels like, do you ever have one of those players where, like, every time you watch them, they're terrible?
Yeah.
But like, their actual output on average is much better. So that can warp your perception, and I think it did with Klay a little bit.
OG, one of these two tiers, but which one? The
I would
Klay
say
tier?
probably B tier.
B.
Yeah. The Chris tier. Anybody else you see in B tier?
Let's move Andrew Wiggins up, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say,
up.
because I think there's an argument that Andrew Wiggins was better than Klay in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That looks right to me.
MPJ stays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Paul
George, easy S tier, right? Like, easy.
Not easy. Not easy. He's better than everybody in A.
And therefore.
But
hey, who said we should have two A tiers?
But literally, it's just Paul George that would be in that tier. Are we making a whole tier for Paul George? Just label the tier Paul George. Fuck it.
Yeah, but like if the point is like, well, he's better than everybody in A tier. Well, Kawhi's better than everyone in S tier right now. So like, a good march.
I think he belongs in A tier.
I think he belongs in A tier as well.
Man, y'all crazy, but all right. I believe.
I don't know where you're.
I respect your opinions.
That Paul George is a superstar right now.
Yeah. Everyone grew up idolizing Paul George.
If Paul George is a superstar, there's like 18 superstars in the NBA.
Paul George was a superstar in 2019.
Yes, he was. Oh my God, we're still getting fucking comments about LeBron.
Don't worry, they're just tuning in.
We should have just put text on screen. If you mention LeBron, you get banned.
Or just have like a disclaimer that said LeBron James played the majority of his minutes at power forward. And Jimmy Butler too.
Wait, hold on. I can make this happen, guys. Don't worry. Just start talking about Reggie Bullock.
You do that one.
Expound
Reggie
more on
Bullock.
Paul. But for real, tell me more about why Paul George isn't as good as Kawhi right now. I feel like do
your eyes work? What?
He's just not as good as he used to be.
Yeah, my mind is just still in the past.
Did you? Was it this? Yeah, it was this year with Kawhi, right? Where he was just like 75% from mid-range in the fucking playoffs when he did play.
Oh yeah,
it was only 2 games, so but like last year he was excellent. But like Kawhi plays like a superstar, Paul George plays like a support piece, and Paul George himself would say that he's a support piece to Kawhi.
Yeah, Paul George, there's like an argument that Paul George is like the greatest role player ever. That sounds like crazy. Draymond's the greatest role player, like pure role player ever. But Paul George is like such a good, not your number one guy.
Mm-hmm. He's
post-injury Paul George.
The best way to put this is just that he's like one of the best 2s of all time.
Yeah. It's like it's similar to Chris Middleton. Not saying like Chris Middleton's one of the best role players. I'm not gonna like try and make that case or anything. Point is, there's guys who have the ability to work really well in a support role, but there's just too many limitations for them to be your number one guy. And Paul George, like, he can be your number one guy. He's done it before. Mm-hmm. But if you also look at his best season, which was 2019, he had a guy setting the table for him. Like, you need a table setter for Paul George. Mm-hmm. Right. And I love Paul George. I think he's incredible.
And actually, someone made a comparison, Paul George to Scottie Pippen. That's like that's how I feel as well. Like, yeah, it's like someone set the table, holy shit, but put that guy as the first option. You know, probably not the best outcome. Don't say shit, Rudy. Right. We don't need to go down this pipeline.
Yeah, just Paul George, top 20 all time. Got it.
Oh my
Reggie Bullock.
God. Oh my God. It's so good that you edit. All right, Reggie Bullock. Probably D, right?
Yeah, seems right.
He did shoot well this season, but that's about the only good thing you can say about him. I would say C, D tier, probably D. He all he does is shoot. That's all he does.
Yeah, I would put him in D.
All right, RJ Barrett probably comfortably C tier.
C plus. I think C plus is right.
Yeah, C plus seems.
He was really good in the playoffs, if I recall, at least in one of the series.
So the reason I'm like nervous about this one is because someone earlier in the chat was like, watch, you guys are gonna have Josh Hart over RJ Barrett, and that's the first thing we did once we got to him.
Yep. It was like definitely not the Josh Hart tier. RJ Barrett below that, certainly.
I think C plus is fine.
Yeah, C plus makes the most sense. Y'all want to tell me who this is?
Saddiq Bey.
Saddiq Bey. I think he was pretty fucking good for the Hawks.
He was. He looked much better. With the Hawks. I was kind of because he had that like weird 50-point game like last season, and it was like, oh. And then a lot of people started paying more attention to him, and they were like, he might be something. And I was like,
Dude.
he's a role player.
Yeah,
but
man.
He's looked better.
That shit drives me crazy. Very often, like a young player like Saddiq Bey is pretty good pretty early, and then because they're pretty good pretty early, people are like, "Oh, that's an all-star right there." It's like sometimes role players are just really good really early, and like it's not about how good you are early; it's more about your skill set. And Saddiq Bey did not have the skill set of a star player. He had the skill set of an excellent role player who just didn't take time to get there. And in Detroit, he was doing too much because he was asked to do too much because they believed he could do that much. He couldn't. He goes to Atlanta, more limited role, playing off of an all-time great playmaker, much better occurrence, much better outcome. That's the player that he's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think he's a C tier player.
Yeah.
All that to put him in C.
Yeah.
That's what this podcast is all about. Scottie Barnes, probably comfortably B plus A minus.
Rudy.
What? Y'all talk about Scottie Barnes like he's like the next coming of Jesus Christ himself.
Dude, I haven't talked about Scottie Barnes in like a year.
Not literally.
Have you not paid attention to the complete flip of the script people had on Scottie?
No.
Yeah, well, clearly you didn't. He had a very much a sophomore slump. He's still good, but he's definitely a B tier player, I would say.
They tried to shoehorn him into like the point forward thing where like he's going to be the guy who has the ball in his hands the most. And it's like some players just, you can't make them do that. Like if a player isn't capable of it, then stop trying to like put a square peg into a round hole. It doesn't work. It's not going to happen.
I think a guy just totally cannot shoot. Like that's a huge factor.
Well, not yet. I think he can eventually get to the point where he can
sure.
But it's like I think it's smart that they experimented with him the way they did, where they're like, we're going to see everything that you can do. Okay, it didn't work. Now we're going to figure out how to use you the right way.
Yep.
But yeah, B tier is good.
Is he better than Tim Hardaway Jr.? That's the real question.
Actually, hold on. Let's pause for a second. Put Tim Hardaway Jr. back. Put him back where he came from. Okay. So, Scottie Barnes. If Josh Giddey's in C+, Scottie Barnes should not be in B.
So we're saying OG, Chris Middleton, definitively better than Scottie Barnes right now. He's more of an RJ Barrett, Josh Giddey.
Honestly, yeah, I do feel more I feel confident that he'd be the worst player in B tier.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I just threw you guys off with my B plus A minus bullshit. Hardaway Jr.
That's a shooting guard that's playing small
I'm starting to
forward
vibe
right there.
I'm starting to vibe with Josh Giddey in B tier.
Ooh, I'll live with it. You know, you're the expert here. Jacob,
don't say that. We're not experts.
I mean, if
get him
anybody
in there,
is
get
Oklahoma...
Josh Giddey in B tier, put him in there. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right, just like that.
Tim Hardaway Jr. is an excellent outside threat. 8 attempts on 39% last year, but doesn't do fuck all outside of that. So that's worth consideration. But if you're that good of a three-point shooter, I feel like you should be in C tier. Like that's really, really good shooting territory, and he provides a pretty decent like spark offensively.
Alex,
yeah, C is definitely the tier for like all you do is shoot threes, or all you do is play defense. Yeah. But you're pretty good at it.
C for single skill. Tobias Harris.
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This is what I always say. This is what I always say about Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is good, but not for the money that he's making. If you put Tobias Harris on like a $17 million a year contract, everyone would be like, Tobias Harris is a pretty good player.
Yeah.
But it's because he's making just stupid money.
Here's a quote for you. Tobias Harris is RC Cola. I will not elaborate.
So, what are C tier is he going to be in?
Probably C plus
actually feels right. C plus feels right.
It's that or B.
He's the Harrison Barnes of Philadelphia.
All right, real quick, I'm going to make an executive decision.
He's the Jeremy Grant.
Someone's got to be F, and I deem it Kelly Oubre. Troy Brown, right? That's who this is.
Can we put I don't know if I should make this joke. Nah, I'm not going to do it. All right.
I don't even know what it could be. So
it's not about Troy Brown.
In which case, I'm even more lost. F, D, C. Where are we putting Troy Brown? Was he better than Lonnie Walker?
I think Troy Brown's actually a surprisingly positive player.
Yeah, he had moments for the Lakers. He had moments for the Bulls. And so many Bulls fans fucking hated Troy Brown's guts. And I was like, is Troy Brown worth being this heated about? Hits his open threes for the most part. Not a bad defender.
That's the thing that would always surprise me when I was like watching film on the Lakers. I'd be like, Troy Brown's a pretty decent defender. Like, I would say Troy Brown is not a great defender, but he is above average. He's like just a good defender. He's a good defender.
Yeah. And, he like that. I think he's a C guy.
I think C as well.
I think C plus is too high.
All right.
He's like the blend of
tier.
The only defense and the only shooting. He's like just like good at both.
Love from Ireland, boys. Well, that's cool. What time is it there?
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't it? It's morning there, right? No, I'm stupid. I'm so stupid. Ignore that I just said that.
Nah,
that was real stupid.
You're a smart boy.
It's the middle of the night.
It's the middle of the night.
Yeah.
All right,
sick
so.
Bastard.
Slap Tatum and S tier. No discussion.
Yes. No discussion. He's S tier.
All
annoying
right,
sometimes, inconsistent often, but
we got a good chat. This was funny. I'm not gonna lie. I thought Alex was a casual after the point guard rankings, but he must have just been high that day.
Brother,
I was so sober.
If anybody's high on this podcast, it's me. Just keep that out there. But Alex knows what he's talking about. He just said something you disagree with.
And it might have been debatable. I mean, I'm just because I, stare at numbers and watch too much basketball.
I think
I still get stuff wrong.
You wouldn't be here if you didn't know enough.
Yeah. So
Where is late Jimmy Butler?
Late Jimmy.
That's the one thing that today that's been like.
That type of joke
because of it.
That type of joke like honestly dates us. Like the fact that the lay thing is so fucking funny to us. Like if you show that to a 15-year-old, their face will be blank.
I love how you're just coming to your own defense, like without hesitation in the chat, Alex.
I gotta set the record straight.
Someone said Alex had Jordan Clarkson in A tier. Never forget. Immediately,
just
same moment. I did not.
Lies. I'm pretty sure you were the guy who was dogging on Jordan Clarkson while I was defending him.
Yeah. That is what happened. I feel obligated to remove someone from C because it's the only one stacked up like this. But like, I don't know who it's going to be.
Left?
Isaac Okoro? No one. That's
okay.
Evan Fournier and Jay Crowder.
All right.
We put on here for the love of the game. I mean, I can just go beam, bam, bop, and call it a day.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's fine.
I feel like F is looking thin. It feels pointless. So it's like, might as well.
Yeah. Jay Crowder's F because of he didn't play.
Yeah.
And because he sucks when he does. Jay Crowder's the epitome of like C+ defense, D+ offense, and just like manages to get minutes based off of his effort. I did not like Jay Crowder on the Grizzlies at all. But that being said, who's going down from C?
Someone said
move
Martin up to C+ just to make it balanced, so there's not like a second stack tier.
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking Isaac Okoro goes down.
I'm gonna make a suggestion.
Please.
Oh no, is it another fucking tier?
I think AJ Griffin to C+.
Okay, I can live with that.
Yes. Agenda pushing.
No, nothing
You're the
wrong
only
with a
one
little bit of
pushing an
stock on
AJ Griffin agenda, brother.
Dude,
I'm sure Mojo 99 is out there smiling.
Draft people love
that's true.
AJ Griffin.
That's true. Draft people pick a guy and they're just like, I'll fucking kill you if you say anything bad about this guy. It's really funny. So I'm just like, all right, man, shit. I won't say anything.
This was our shortest tier list, and it was still an hour and a half.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
We
it's
got
because
some good discussions, though. Honestly,
we're content machines.
Honestly, in terms of overall discussion, I think this was our best one.
Yeah,
I think the
I
conversations
agree.
here were pretty damn good. And less arguing with each other, which I like, even though I know arguing is content. I don't like being.
That's what it's all about.
I don't like yelling at my friends.
I don't think I'm going to look at this tier list and go, this guy should have been here because
there are going to be a couple of people that are mad that Kelly Oubre is an F because they still think he's good when I've always thought he was bad.
Seems like people are mostly hung up on the Keldon Johnson ranking, but I genuinely am not sure why, other than like just box score. Like,
yeah. It's just
I know they're not watching the Spurs.
Yeah, right.
They just look him up and go, he has some of the best numbers in the league. It's like, yep, and they won like 11 games. So, all right. I mean, I don't really have any additions or subtractions to make here. Like,
anybody else got something to say?
Yeah, normally I feel like we have to like parse through this pretty hard and like reevaluate at the end.
We moved one guy.
Yeah. Through the scraps onto F tier.
Caleb Martin up to C+ is something someone said, but
I think saying Caleb Martin is like that much definitively better than guys like Dillon Brooks. Even Joe Ingles.
I will happily say he's definitively better than Dillon Brooks and Joe Ingles, honestly. And
Caleb Martin ain't guarding power forwards respectfully. Like he's just guarding them.
I don't give a fuck. Dillon Brooks is terrible.
Look, all I'm saying is I got Stockholm syndrome on Dillon Brooks for a reason. Okay?
I realize that I seemed like inflammatory in my dislike for Dillon Brooks, and I obviously don't like the guy's personality, but I genuinely don't think he's good at all. Yeah, I think he's so bad offensively. I don't care that he's as good as he is defensively. He's only ever been a net negative in his career. All right,
more or less true.
We can let it go.
All right.
You're gonna get some angry texts in the morning from me this time.
Because Dillon Brooks is too damn high. If you're listening,
it's always fun. It's always fun looking at the comments on this one. The like actual video goes live.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
hey, throw Chris Middleton in B+ real quick. The chat's saying it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that also because like he was
really good in the playoffs.
He was good in the playoffs. He was dealing with injuries the whole season, and the season before that he was an all-star. And I think that's who Chris Middleton is. I think Chris Middleton just, was winding up as the season went along, so his numbers aren't the same. So I'm actually totally good with that. I was thinking that Chris should go a little higher, but I understood why he was lower.
Where's LeBron though?